Well, chaps, on location filming for the time being. As you can tell, I'm utterly useless. If you can hear me, hopefully, because everyone's walking around and I get self-conscious. This cheeky chappy over my shoulder is one of the two men nowadays credited with saving the nation, Air Marshal Keith Park. He was instrumental in the siege of Malta, the sweat in 1942, replaced on Churchill's instructions after the battle was won in October 1940. One of New Zealand's greatest exports, I think. Well, chaps, depending if I've remembered to, you might have seen a little clip of me on location, so to speak. And again, I wonder to myself in this moment of disaster just why I am bothering doing these videos. He says, whilst he distracts himself, setting something up. And downstairs do the latest messing about. Well, what a day. Nothing earth-shattering in itself to anyone else, of course, but I got a nice little email I from the morning, but only saw in the early evening in Swiss Cottage, that I've been rejected or declined or whatever the creative writing course that I had interviewed for over a week ago. As I scroll down, which is very rare for a rejection email in my experience anyway, be it university or job, it had some kind of reason. Initially I thought it was, so I started reading for something, it transformed into my eyes as what I used to get and last got for rejection for a job anyway. You know, there's been too many applicants, we can't give each person individual reasons, all that bilge. And to my faint surprise, because I was recovering from wearing a face mask all flaming day, it said your application was not strong enough, which felt faintly like a kick in what's left of my teeth, but and just as my brother turned up, funny enough, who I haven't seen in person anyway for 4 months. And it was like, he was like, are you okay? And I was like, And yeah, there were other universities and that, but this one was like the 4th best, and it was and sort of partial guarantee to get published and that. Maybe I was reaching too high going straight to a postgrad. My other option is to do undergrad, work my way bottom up, but I'm going to be 35 in just over a month's time, and if I did an undergrad then postgrad I could be nearly 40, and it's a case as Winston Churchill would write on everything every day, action this day. I've had enough of dragging my heels, so to speak, or my knuckles some would say. Oh, but you're young, you've got your whole life ahead of you. Based on what I've experienced so far in my near 4 decades on this godforsaken planet, I'm not really looking forward to finding out. And if we're going to have to live with this pandemic for the next few years, if we're going to have the prospect of some kind of fracas with China, which everyone seems to think we're going to have to at some point, if the world is indeed going to be too hot for us in the summertime anyway because of global warming, let's strike while, if you forgive the expression, the iron is hot. Yeah. There's nothing written when I was born saying that this chap should one day be thrust into limelight, but it would be nice to accomplish something. All I have to show for grey hair and what seems to be a persistent acne is mental state that quite honestly is bad enough that the other day, Monday, I did not think I'd be seeing this week out. Not vertical anyway. But as I say, London for the first time. It would have been 4 months tomorrow, because I last was up on the 18th of March that I set foot in merry old London. One of the most peculiar experiences in my life. From what I remember of certainly the last couple of weeks before we were all summoned to the office on the 17th of March, London was not quite itself. If you know London as I do, and I'm not pretending to be a great expert, and indeed most of my life I've known London, if you even like other people were a tour guide and you're doing it 3 times a day, certain parts of the capital 3 times a day, other parts 6 times a day because of the nature of the beast, you get wise to how a city is. And certainly I started to learn how this city was when I was at uni. You know, it was suddenly apparent at Christmas time, say, you'd get out of Regent Campus, which Westminster, which is technically on Upper Regent Street, just shy of the BBC, and you head down to Oxford Circus, and you can't move for people all the way through to Trafalgar Square. And so it was in a couple of weeks before lockdown. You're suddenly aware that Coventry Street, I think it is, from Piccadilly Circus to Leicester Square, is not as choked with people as it should be, especially in the evening, especially on a Friday or Saturday, the weekend, optimistically. You're suddenly aware that Waterloo, especially at rush hour, the second busiest station, the busiest station in London, busiest in the country, I don't know why I was thinking so busiest, we're 99 million a year and all that jazz, is not as choked of people crossing York Road and up, and presumably on the concourse. And so, I don't know what the aim was today. I spent £27.30 on the ticket, which is heinous when you're virtually unemployed, even if you are getting furloughed, money and stuff, but the redundancy question looms. So, you know, I was trying to tick off tube stations I haven't visited before lockdown, and then you're suddenly confronted with the fact that you have to wear a face mask everywhere you go on public transport. And the hopping is going to be interesting. So today I just set myself with bare minimum. I'm going to go out to Greenwich. I changed at midway to go up to Westminster to the Battle of Britain Memorial, and then up to Swiss Cottage to see if the pub was open, which was like my anchor after a tough shift at work, or even a good shift, usually by myself. So from the off, you know, I've got the old face mask I was given about a month or so ago, and the glasses are fogging. I was constantly playing with it every so often trying to adjust it and sit in my glasses, but doing that didn't work. And there was a few people wearing face masks, and then some idiot gets on at Rickmansworth with a newspaper like this, and everyone's looking at him, and I was like, I need to have a face mask all the way out to London. And it's like, do you say something? That's something else. Like we were, we the British was grassing people up for not doing observing lockdown. I suppose now we move into the phase of grassing people up for not wearing a face mask, and it all puts me back to, like I say, what I read about the occupation of the Channel Islands, where people couldn't rate it seemed to grass other people up for not having a radio or whatever, and some of these grassing ups ended up with people losing their lives on the continent in concentration camps. I ain't so stringent at the moment. Some people could deserve a good bloody slap though. So I thought to myself, right, let's brave it. You know, to get out to Greenwich is involving a great degree of being on public transport for a while. So Bakerloo line, cheeky hop to Baker Street, Jubilee line, and the first hop I get on, and no one on the carriage, and they've blocked off the last bit of it, like the benches, big yellow sign and everything. And I thought, fuck, this is new. And then got the Jubilee line and kept my distance, and other people were for the most part. Got off at Canary Wharf, braved pushing my mask down as I walked off to Heron Keys, DOR, and Canary Wharf is dead. Now, admittedly, what time did I get there? About 12:30, but I would have thought 12:30 is lunchtime for the suits, the bankers. Not solely bankers, because the Daily Mirror and another newspaper's out there. I think it's the Mail. Answers on the postcard. The RR train starts rolling over the water from Canary Wharf, and I thought to myself, TfL website says it's every 10 minutes, can I wait 10 minutes? No, I can't, so I ran up the stairs and almost fainted. It's like a T-Rex on rollerblades. So, DRR out to Katisak, as the station is, and I thought, they've changed Katisak. Both escalators are up as opposed to one down, and so on and so forth. And the trouble is that the DRR is that if you have a travel card, it looks like you're fare dodging. Because if you have Oyster, you still have to chime out. But with a travel card, there's no barriers. So anyway, up, and I thought, well, my brother said he might meet me. Costa, as usual, get a coffee, sit there for half an hour. No, Costa, despite its size, takeaway only. Despite the fact this Costa in Aylesbury, half the size, well, a fraction of the size, is allowing us to sit down. Yay. So I walked around. The trouble is, I was sweating profusely, and I've done that since I was 18, since they put me on antidepressants. Apparently, one side of it is that you do sweat more. And so, yay, when the BBC Science page said yesterday, scientists say we're going to suffer, we won't find the summers bearable in the next decade or two. Why can't I have been born in the 40s? You know, my brother said, well, the way of life is better today. Really? I'd sooner take my chances with Adolf Hitler and the Spitfire, or the Russians on the Eastern Front, than fucking the world I've got ahead of me. This is where I lose people if I haven't already, but fuck it, I'm not really in the mood, to be honest, because I'm fed up, and I'm fed up with woo-woos from downstairs. So I potted about, and saw a couple of things like you do. It's really obvious when people are on their phones when they drive, and there's a pet peeve, because, you know, it was in the news a couple years ago already now, on one of our motorways, I forget which one, lorry driver decided to look down to change music on his phone, and when he looked up, as you see on the last footage, he suddenly realised he's in deep shit. The eyes go wide, and as you see from the forward footage, he hit a car, virtually mounted it and killed all but one of the family in the car. And that was because he was looking down to change his music. And so I'm waiting to cross in Greenwich, and there's this guy in the fan doing this, doing the nod, you know. Yeah, from the I was looking at him from the side, so I was like. And then as I tried to get onto the road, somebody thought it'd be because the queue was all the way out of Greenwich, it seemed down to the Dome. Well, at least it was a really long line of traffic. Some woman in the fan thought, fuck this, and decided to bomb down the bus lane past the cyclist, so that was interesting. But you couldn't get into the grounds of the Royal Navy College, that looks closed. If you want to go up to the observatory, you have to go all the way down and then up. So I thought, fuck it, no. Follow people down. And I was tempted to go in the pub at Trafalgar Way, and I just didn't have the energy, and tried to get, and then went down to where the old Greenwich Hospital, and there's a little thing, and there's bicycles all over the place. You're allowed to cycle down there, but not like the Tour de France. Eric Sable, who was my favourite sprinter in the 90s, now they reckon cheat. You can't bloody win. Although Sable, it was kind of tragic towards the end of his Tour de France career, because he went off to do the Vuelta to España and did alright there, because in those days he felt no one gave a shit about, because the Tour and the Giro had been done. But towards the end of his career, Sable had to deal with Robbie McEwen and other sprinters like Tor Hoshold, and this he can't. I just give up. He should have given up when, you know, flipping McEwen came past like a grease shit. So my brother said he wasn't free for ages, so I thought, well, I've had enough of Greenwich. DLR back to Canary Wharf, the Jubilee this time out to Westminster, and all the while it just feels weird. And I got for Westminster, and I've never seen Westminster Tube in the week, especially on a day like this in the summer, virtually dead. None of the shops are really open for what I saw. There's a few people, the TfL staff talking to themselves to each other as usual. But no crowds of people, you know. Even the homeless have gone from the Thames side entrance. Get out into the sun. The eye is dead. None of our buses, or any of the other buses, are at County Hall, of course, and there's a hush. Well, there was, at least for a minute, until I heard a protest in front of Downing Street. Something to do with Ethiopia, from what I saw. went down to the Battle of Britain Memorial. Usually when we've lost a member of the few, when I can, my way of paying respect to this chap is to go to Memorial, find their name, and sort of like, I have to touch the name briefly, just one, and say, you know, rest in peace. And we've only got one left now. All those names on that memorial, and it was his birthday today. It's 101. I don't know. I don't know, it always moves me. I don't know why. And cut over the road to in front of the MOD as it is now, and there's 2 police horses apparently just there to have a jolly. I don't know, it was just beside this horse that as soon as I walked past decided to make all manner of ugly noises. I went down the street and to go up towards the Cabinet War Rooms, and they were shouting, so I swear to God they were saying death to the UK, but I think it was just the wine they were using. And then anyway, ended up all the way up at Piccadilly Circus. All the while, even though there's a few people braving the pelicans, and they were stood in front of this railing, I saw the pelican, like something out of land that time forgot, its beak, like a pterodactyl's, like this, as somebody was reaching in to feed it, and I thought, you're going to lose your hand, mate, because the week I started uni, moved into halls, famously got onto the news that a pelican has swallowed a pigeon. It's on YouTube still. It's the first video I favorited on YouTube. I might link it in the description if anyone gives a shit. Anyway, up to Piccadilly Circus, and hardly anything's open on Lower Regent Street apart from fancy restaurants and this bouncer. Oh, Pret was open. Yay. Piccadilly Circus dead. For Piccadilly Circus on a Friday, hardly anyone around. And then I'm in the Waterstones, that was deader. The 5-floor Waterstones, they used to be Simpsons. I thought, well, this is starting to wear me thin, depress me. Came out to get the tube. 3 chaffy little shits on those green renter bikes, and one's wearing around, and I can't imagine he's been out much lately, because he was going around going, this is sick. Like, it was the most exciting thing he's ever experienced in his life, which I find hard to believe, because I'm willing to bet the last exciting thing he did was mug some unsuspecting person on the pavement. So I promptly got onto the tube. Well, one over the Bond Street, Central Line, dead. It's the Central Line that usually freaks me out because of how stupid people are. Up to Swiss Cottage, and I thought, this is it, I've had enough. The pub was bloody open. Frenchley Road still looks like hell. And I said to my brother, why, I'm going in. I've been on the go now 3 hours, and I've sweated through everything. And they you know, you have to go, and they said one way and all this stuff, and one way out, and I thought, okay. And whereas everywhere else I've been into, so, well, the pubs haven't, in Ellsby, the Weatherspoons, they haven't got anything as far as, because they tell you if you can use the app, but you still get people queuing up who don't social distance. Fuck that. Costa, even the JUL as well. I got my watch strap sorted out yesterday, and we got the battery week before. I've got some, you know, plastic things, and they old Swiss Cottage, or the old Swiss Cottage, because Stephen Fry said on QOE is the, so you don't say the old or whatever. They've essentially put, like, I wouldn't say polythene, clean film, you know, like you would wrap your sandwiches up in, but they've got it up the bar, and you can see them. You know, it's transparent, and they've cut a little groove for the card, and where you pick up for your contactless, and where you collect your drink. And then I went home, and then realised that the panic alarm victim support, whatever they call themselves, before they changed, the battery has gradually died, even though I've never used it. I've tested it a couple of times to make sure it still works, but it goes off like louder than the car alarm. It's essentially the worst sound you ever want. I got it in the post, free of charge, and it had a little strip So I took the strip out and I went, well, how does it work? And they said, right, in your stretch, you essentially pull the key fob. And as soon as I pulled it, a fraction, it went off in my ears, and I was like, oh my god. And I could barely hear it, and I'm going, batteries, and I've got to fuck about that. Kids everywhere. That's something else to look forward to. See if the ones that egged my flat and gave me grief in winter decide to come back. I just want it over so I have, downstairs do their fitness, woo-woos and loud thumping music, and then when they're done, apparently they carry on having a chat on Skype, Zoom, whatever they're using, and they don't turn the volume down for the conversation, so all you can hear is this kind of ambient shit. And yeah, I dare to play my music. I'll fire the Blu-ray and TV, because that's all I've got in the living room. I haven't got any sound system for 20 minutes, and I get counted. So yeah, who gives a fuck? So that's it. Probably the last London trip until I know about the job or have money to waste, because 27.30 is a lot, as I say. The university thing has bugged me. Not a strong enough application. But that's life. I could apply for other things, I'm just not in the mood for it. University I think still starts, start of October, once you get the freshest stuff out of the way. Or at least the last week of September. And I don't have the money for it. The funny thing is I downloaded a soundometer app and placed the phone on my floor, turned everything else, muted everything in my flat, TV and whatever, and according to the soundometer it's only about 40 decibels and is equivalent to a quiet park, and the loudest the app goes to is 120 decibels, which is whatever. So even though it's bothering me, it's not loud enough to be a problem to anyone else. Oh well. But Piccadilly Circus saw a bus with the trainer. I'm not naming him because he'll probably watch this. With 2 people on it. Yeah. Wish I could be Prime Minister for a day. With the salary, 60,000. No, it's more than that. Although I heard a tube driver gets around the same as the Prime Minister, that can't be right. Anyway, answers on the postcard or to your nearest embassy. Thanks as always, chaps. Like, subscribe, dislike, not subscribe.